In the bone-chilling rain of Seattle, on a construction site where the mud acted like quicksand and the wind felt like razor blades against the skin, a 20-second interaction cost a young man his livelihood. Liam, a carpenter of just 19 years old, stopped to help a confused old man staring at a complex blueprint. When the shivering man asked why he bothered to stop, Liam replied with 6 words that would seal his fate on that skyscraper. "Because nobody builds anything alone, sir." Minutes later, the site foreman appeared, face purple with rage, humiliating the boy in front of the entire crew, and fired him on the spot for wasting company time. What no one on that steel skeleton imagined was that the old man was not a lost retiree. And that brutal firing would be just the preamble to something that would reshape the city's skyline and Liam's destiny forever. Before we continue, if you like stories of overcoming odds and justice, subscribe to our channel. We bring to life memories and voices that never had space, but carry the wisdom of a lifetime. I will tell you this story from the beginning, with the details that make it unique. It was a merciless Monday in downtown Seattle. The gray sky hung low and heavy, threatening a storm that would turn the site into a freezing nightmare. On the 14th floor of the Vanguard Tower project, the sound of jackhammers was deafening, mixing with the shouting of men and the grinding of cranes. Amidst the chaos, Liam tightened the clamps on a custom wooden formwork for a concrete pillar. His hands, though young, were rough, covered in calluses and small cuts that never had time to heal. At 19, wearing a neon yellow vest that was slightly torn at the shoulder and boots that had been resoled twice, Liam possessed a knowledge of structural joinery that seasoned architects often lacked. This talent wasn't learned in a classroom. It was an inheritance. His father, Thomas O'Connor, had been a master carpenter known throughout the Pacific Northwest. Thomas was the kind of man who could run his hand over a piece of timber and tell you its moisture content without looking at a meter. He built houses that survived earthquakes and storms, always prioritizing safety over speed. But Thomas had died 2 years prior in a preventable scaffolding accident, a victim of a company that cut corners to save pennies. He left behind Liam and his younger sister, Emily, who was born with a respiratory condition that required expensive nebulizers and constant care. Liam carried the weight of his father's legacy and the burden of his sister's survival on his aching shoulders. He didn't just learn how to frame a wall or level a floor. He learned that construction is about protection. It's about ensuring that the family sleeping inside the house is safe from the storm outside. He learned that a building stands on its integrity, not just its foundation. On that freezing morning, while Liam was scraping excess concrete from a wooden joint, he noticed a figure that didn't belong. Standing near the edge of the unfinished floor, dangerously close to a drop-off, was an elderly man. He looked about 80, wearing a soaked beige trench coat that offered zero protection against the biting wind. He held a walking cane in one hand and was squinting at a large blueprint table that had been left uncovered in the drizzle. The old man was shivering violently, his hands shaking so much he couldn't unroll the wet paper. He looked lost, perhaps a grandfather with dementia who had wandered away from a care home, confused by the noise and the changing city landscape. "Excuse me, sir," Liam called out, his voice fighting against the wind. He put down his tools immediately. The safety protocols were strict. Civilians were a liability. But Liam didn't see a liability. He seen a human being in danger. He walked over, unclipping his own thermal flask of hot coffee from his belt. "Sir, you shouldn't be up here. It's slippery and the wind is picking up." The old man, who would later introduce himself as Arthur, looked up. His eyes were a piercing steel gray, sharp despite his frailty. I just wanted to see the load-bearing specs," Arthur stammered, his teeth chattering. "This column, on the paper, it doesn't look right. The shear force calculation seems off for this grade of concrete." Liam paused. Most people saw a building. This old man saw the math. Liam looked at the blueprint Arthur was pointing to. It was a complex schematic for the central atrium. Liam had noticed the anomaly 2 days ago, but had been told to shut up when he mentioned it to the foreman. "You have a sharp eye, sir," Liam said gently, shielding the old man from the wind with his own body. "You're right. The specs on the sheet assume a grade 50 steel reinforcement, but they ordered grade 40 to save money. If they pour this concrete today, it will crack within 5 years. Arthur froze. He looked at the boy, truly seeing him for the first time. You noticed that? And they are pouring it anyway? I'm just a carpenter, sir. I build what I'm told. But I reinforced the formwork on my section with extra bracing just in case. My dad used to say, wood whispers what steel screams. We have to compensate where we can. Liam took off his own heavy, fleece-lined work jacket, his only shield against the freezing cold, and wrapped it around the old man's trembling shoulders. Then, he poured the steaming coffee into the cup cap. Here, drink this. It's hazelnut, plenty of sugar. It'll warm your blood. Arthur took the cup with both hands. You'll freeze, son, he whispered. I'm young. I burn hot. You need it more, Liam smiled. It was a smile that didn't show the exhaustion of working double shifts or the fear of the eviction notice on his kitchen table. Let's get you to the service elevator. It's not safe. Arthur took a sip, the color returning to his pale cheeks. What is your name, son? And why? Why are you helping a confused old man look at blueprints instead of working? I'm Liam, and I'm helping because nobody builds anything alone, sir. If this building falls, we all fail. If you fall, I fail. Arthur looked at the boy with an intensity that felt heavier than the concrete pillars around them. Liam, he tested the name. Nobody builds alone. That is, a rare philosophy these days. It was at that exact moment that the silence was shattered. O'Connor! The scream tore through the air like a gunshot. Mr. Miller, the site foreman, stomped across the metal decking. Miller was a massive man, built like a bulldozer and with the empathy of one. He wore pristine, expensive gear that never touched the mud, and he managed the site through terror and intimidation. He hated Liam specifically because Liam was the only one who dared to ask questions about safety violations. What the hell do you think you're doing? Miller roared, his face red underneath his white hard hat. This is a construction site, not a soup kitchen. Who is this vagrant? Miller grabbed the old man by the arm roughly, almost knocking him over. Arthur stumbled, dropping the coffee. Boss, let him go. He's just confused. I was escorting him to the lift. Liam stepped in, putting himself between Miller and the old man. Confused? He's trespassing. And you. Miller poked a fat finger into Liam's chest. You are wasting my time. I saw you looking at the blueprints. I saw you chatting. You think you're an engineer now? You think you're better than the rest of us? He noticed the steel grate issue, Miller, Liam said, his voice steady but low. He was right. The column isn't safe. Miller laughed, a harsh, barking sound. Safe? I define what is safe. I define what gets built. You are a termite, O'Connor, just like your father was, always thinking, never working. You're fired. The wind seemed to howl louder. The other workers, men who respected Liam but feared Miller, kept their heads down, riveting and hammering, pretending not to see. To intervene was to lose a paycheck. You can't fire me for helping someone, Liam said, disbelief washing over him. I just did. Get your tools and get off my site. And take this garbage with you. Miller gestured to the old man. If I see either of you in 5 minutes, I'm calling the police. Liam looked at Miller. He thought about Emily, his sister. He thought about the medicine she needed. He swallowed his pride, a bitter pill that tasted like ash. He nodded slowly. He helped Arthur to the elevator. He didn't ask for his jacket back. He guided the old man all the way to the street level, where the rain was turning the sidewalks into rivers. I'm sorry about that, sir, Liam said, handing Arthur his cane. Are you okay to get home? Arthur looked at the skyscraper rising into the mist, then back at the boy shivering in just his t-shirt. You lost your job because of me, Liam. You defended the truth and you lost your livelihood. I can find another job. I couldn't live with myself if I let him push you around. Take care, sir. Liam walked away into the rain. He walked for an hour to save the bus fare. When he got home, the small apartment was freezing. The heater was broken again. Emily was wrapped in blankets, coughing, a dry, rattling sound that terrified him. Liam, you're back early? She asked, her eyes wide and hopeful. Yeah, Em. Site closed early. Weather, he lied. He went to the bathroom, turned on the shower to mask the sound, and cried. He cried for his father, for the injustice, for the fear of the future. He had $60 in his account. Rent was $200. The math was crueler than Miller. For the next 3 days, Liam scoured the city, but Miller had blacklisted him. The construction world in Seattle is smaller than it looks. "We heard you caused trouble at the Vanguard site," the other foreman said. "We don't need smartasses who question the blueprints." He was blackballed. On Thursday, Liam was sitting on a park bench watching pigeons fight over a crust of bread, wondering if he should sell his father's tools, his most prized possession, to buy Emily's inhalers. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Liam O'Connor?" A woman's voice, crisp and professional. "Speaking. This is Sarah from Sterling Global Developments. Mr. Arthur Sterling requests your presence at his office. 2:00 p.m. today. I've sent a car to your location." Liam frowned. Sterling? The name was legendary. Sterling Global owned half the city. They were the developers behind the Vanguard Tower, the very site he was fired from. Had Miller reported him to the owners? Was he going to be sued for trespassing? A sleek black town car pulled up to the curb moments later. The driver opened the door. Liam, in his worn jeans and flannel shirt, felt like an imposter as he sank into the leather seats. They drove to the Sterling Spire, the tallest building in the city. The lobby was marble and gold. The elevator ride to the penthouse took a full minute, causing his ears to pop. When the doors opened, Liam stepped into an office that looked more like a museum. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the entire city, gray and majestic. And there, standing by a telescope, was the old man, Arthur, but gone was the soaked trench coat. Arthur wore a bespoke charcoal suit that cost more than Liam's entire life earnings. He looked powerful, sharp, and commanding. "Mr. Sterling?" Liam gasped. Arthur turned and smiled. "Hello, Liam. Please, come in. The coffee here is Ethiopian, not hazelnut, but I hope it will do." "I don't understand. You were at the site. You looked lost? Confused?" Arthur chuckled, walking over to a large oak desk. "I founded this company 50 years ago, Liam. I retired as CEO last year, but I never stopped caring. I kept hearing rumors that the Vanguard project was over budget and behind schedule, yet the material costs were suspiciously low. I decided to see for myself. But a CEO in a suit gets a guided tour. An old man in a raincoat sees the truth." Arthur picked up a thick roll of paper from his desk. "I went to 7 of my sites that week. At most of them I was ignored. At one I was escorted out by security for safety. But at the Vanguard, I found a culture of fear. And I found one young man who knew more about structural integrity than my lead engineers." Arthur placed a photo on the desk. It was a grainy security camera printout of Liam wrapping his jacket around Arthur in the rain. "You gave me the coat off your back. You identified a critical flaw that would have cost lives, and you stood up to a bully to protect a stranger who could offer you nothing in return. That, Liam, is not a skill. That is character." Liam felt a lump in his throat. "I just did what my dad would have done." "And your father raised a good man," Arthur said softly. "I looked into your file, Liam. I know about the blacklisting. I know about your sister, Emily." Arthur slid a contract across the polished wood. "What is this?" "This is not a job offer for a carpenter, Liam. This is a scholarship. Full ride to the University of Washington, School of Architecture and Engineering, tuition, books, housing, plus a stipend for living expenses that is triple what you made at the site." Liam's hands shook as he touched the paper. "Sir, I can't accept this. It's too much." "Read the second page," Arthur commanded gently. Liam flipped the page. "And for immediate employment, Emily O'Connor is to be added to the Sterling Global Executive Health Plan with full coverage for respiratory specialists, effective immediately." Tears hit the paper. Liam couldn't stop them. The relief was a physical wave crashing over him. "Why?" Liam whispered. "Because I need you, Liam. I have enough people who can follow orders. I have enough people who can cut corners. I need someone who understands that a building is only as strong as its integrity. I'm investing in you because one day I want you to run my projects. I want you to build this city the right way." Liam signed. It was the easiest decision of his life. 2 weeks later, Liam was at the Vanguard site, but not in a yellow vest. He was there with Arthur and a team of independent auditors. They were wearing white hard hats. Mr. Miller was there, sweating profusely despite the cold. He saw Arthur Sterling and rushed over, forcing a smile that looked like a grimace. "Mr. Sterling, what an honor! We are making great progress," Miller stammered. Then, Miller saw Liam standing next to the billionaire, holding a clipboard. Miller's face went pale. "You," Miller whispered. "Good morning, Miller," Arthur said, his voice cutting through the noise. "Meet my new junior consultant for structural safety." Liam here pointed out the grade 40 steel issue. "We ran the tests, he was right. You were pouring a tomb, not a tower." "Sir, I can explain. The supplier." Miller tried to backpedal. "Save it," Arthur said coldly. "You fired this young man for wasting time helping a human being. You valued speed over safety and arrogance over talent. You are fired, Miller, and my legal team will be in touch regarding the fraud on the material costs. You won't work in this state again." Miller stood there, stripped of his power, looking small against the gray sky. He looked at Liam, expecting a smug grin, expecting mockery. But Liam didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply looked at Miller with a calm, steady gaze. "We ordered the correct steel, Miller," Liam said quietly. "It arrives tomorrow. We're going to build it right." Miller walked away, his heavy boots dragging in the mud, leaving the site he thought he owned. Years passed. Liam finished his degree at the top of his class. Emily recovered fully, growing up to be a respiratory therapist, helping kids just like she had been. Liam O'Connor became a legend in Seattle, not just for his buildings, which won awards for design and safety, but for his philosophy. On the desk of his corner office, overlooking the city he helped shape, sits an old, worn-out neon yellow vest and a broken piece of concrete. They serve as a reminder that true strength isn't in the steel or the stone. It's in the hands that pour it. It's in the decision to stop and help when everyone else walks by. And that sometimes, the hardest storm is just the water needed to grow a new foundation. If this story touched your heart, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment below. Which city in the United States would you like to visit? And remember, the good you do today can be the seed of tomorrow's miracle. Until the next story.